Welcome to the Half Done Hobbyist. Today we've got another Eldar unboxing and it is the Avatar. Now I've been really excited about this one for a long time and I was actually losing hope that it would happen this year, but it's finally here. So we'll never have to deal with this wee guy ever again. So the box looks fantastic. There's a bit of a darker paint scheme than usual. We've got the bloody hand up here. We've got a sword. You can also have a spear and an axe, which is cool. You've got the flames around his feet. All looks great. So let's open the box. Got the instructions here, and we've got 3 different versions, so you can mix and match heads and weapons. I think I quite like this head here. I think that's the one I'm going to go with. It seems the most Avatar-y to me. For weapons, I think I'll go for the spear. I also really like the axe and the sword, don't get me wrong, but I think in this case the spear is the most classic Avatar weapon, so I'll go for that. It does look like we could build all variations, so I think we could magnetise the heads and the arms and build them all quite happily and swap between them. We've got 1 sprue, and this guy isn't as large as I thought he would be, but I don't know what I was expecting. It's a £60 model, so it's not going to be as big as an Imperial Knight, which was my initial thought. I honestly thought, from the size I'd calculated in my head, that he'd be about £95, maybe £100. But he's obviously a lot smaller than that, but it's still a cool looking model. There's probably a tipping point where he gets too big and just starts to look really stupid, so maybe this is the sweet spot. There's so much texture on these bits of plastic, it's just incredible. It'll take a dry brush really well, so for anyone that's going to paint it like me, which is pretty basically, then you'll be in for a treat with this one. So look at the size of that spear. From end to end, it is just verging on 14 centimetres. So for those who like inches, who doesn't, just over 5 inches tall. So that is a pretty big spear. I'm going to build it and then we'll see what it looks like after it's built. Now I'm not going to paint it in this video, but hopefully I'll manage to paint it at some point, film it, and then I'll show you how I did it. As with most of my painting tutorials, it's not going to be for very experienced painters. It'll probably be more towards the beginner end of the scale. Thanks to the wonders of television, I now have a fully built avatar. So there you go. It took me about 45 minutes roughly. I thought it would be a lot easier than it was. It started off really easy and I was ready to recommend it to beginners. And then I had to put the straps on round his chest to hold the bit in the middle of his chest, and that was a nightmare, especially for my big fat fingers, so it just didn't go very well. And that is where most of the 45 minutes ended up. Obviously lots of options in the kit. There's 3 heads, 3 weapon options, and you really have to watch for something, because I thought I would be able to put all 3 weapon options on, and I stuck this little armour plate here right on. It's glued fast now. Don't stick that on if you're planning on switching between weapons, because you only get one of them. So you'd really have to watch with that. If you're going to magnetise, you need to magnetise that bit as well. The heads are swappable, so you can swap them in and out as you wish. And they all fit quite happily with no modification. There are 3 different necks, so you can choose between them. And it just changes the way the head's oriented. But they all seem to fit fine on the neck as it is. Like I said earlier, this is the one for me. This is the classic Avatar one. I actually remember the Avatar when it was first released, and this seems the closest to what I remember, so that's what I'm going for. And of course, his spear. So it's awesome. It's such a good model. It was difficult to put together, but it's a joy once it's there. You'll notice bits have fallen off. That's because I've not glued them properly, but don't worry about that. So sub-assemblies. I'm keeping the head separate. I'm keeping the middle of the chest piece separate. I'm keeping the base separate. And I'm also keeping the shoulder pads separate because they do cover quite a lot of the skin. So if you keep the shoulder pads separate, you should be okay there. And I also did not glue the spear on. See, I just stuck it with blue tack so that you could all see what the fully built model looked like. I'm not sure what to do with his head. I do actually really love these other heads once they're built. So I might leave that off as long as I can, just to see if I can be bothered magnetising it. There's that one. That's actually got a plume on the top. And it can fit in different orientations as well, depending on your tastes. Give him a side plume. Or a back plume. I don't know which one I prefer. But that's also a really cool head. I really like that as well. I imagine a lot of clever people will find stuff for kit bashing and stuff like that, so Really versatile kit. The other thing is a lot of these seams are very well hidden. There was a bad one round here, but there's flames go over it and the belts. Now, I'm not saying you won't need any filling at all, but the cracked nature of the body does actually hide the seams really well. It depends how perfect you're going for, but for me, I'll probably do a wee bit of filler there, wee bit of filler there, wee bit under that arm, and that'll do. So, not much at all. Now I have to say, this guy, once he's built up, looks a lot better than the box art, and also a lot better than anything I've seen on Twitter so far. I said that about Morgan Ra as well. Just seems to be the nature of these Eldar models. They look so much better in the hand built than they do on social media and in photographs. You really have to get your hands on this and turn it around in your hand to fully appreciate the beauty of it. One detail that might not have been picked up was his avatar belly button. So that thing's actually quite deep. I wonder if the camera is actually picking up this texture, because it is great. Now for this to be a fully fair and balanced review, I need to find things that I don't like about it. And I'm struggling with that because I really do love this model. Probably the main thing is that it's really fiddly to put together in the latter stages. But that's about the only thing I can find about it. I don't think it needs to be any bigger than it is. I think the size it is really works well. I'll show you a wee comparison with a Wraith Knight, if I can fit the Wraith Knight in. So as you can see, that is the kind of size difference we're looking at. So the Wraith Knight is huge compared to the Avatar, which is probably as it should be. He's not that big, but he is cool. So if you're expecting a giant model, this isn't it. So there's a quick comparison between old and new avatars, and I think you can see which one's the better model. It's come a long way since this one. I'm not saying this was a bad model at the time, but it's a bad model now. Are you planning on picking this up? I'm really looking for inspiration for my own Eldar army. I think I'm going to go Beal Tan because I've got some started off as Beal Tan, but I really wanted something unique, but anything I try doesn't come out looking good. So I think one of the safe craft worlds is what I'm going to go with, just so I get a good looking force at the end of the day. If you've got any ideas for colour schemes or projects or anything like that, let me know, because I'm really struggling for inspiration with these Eldar. They should be really easy, beautiful models, they take paint really well, but I just can't get them looking good. So in summary, beautiful model, actually quite decent price tag. I wasn't shocked at all when I saw it, I was actually pleasantly surprised. So would I recommend this model? 100% I would if you're up for a challenge. If you think you might struggle with anything fiddly, maybe steer away from this for the moment until you become a bit more experienced. But for me, it was a brilliant model. It's been a long time coming, and I'm very happy with it. I think they did a great job on it. Don't really have anything negative to say about it. I really love this one, and I'll be really happy to add this to my force. So that's it for the Avatar review. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.